besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Maya. For those of you who may be new here, welcome. We are on episode 10 of Booktober. Yay! This is a continuation, kind of, sort of, but it can be a standalone watch of TBR Harvest, Escaping the Haunted House. Here's the haunted house. As you can see, there are many arrows that are pointing to different paths that we can take. I, of course, am taking the easiest because it's less books. And I gotta be honest, I didn't think I would have a book a prompt and be able to fulfill a book a prompt, but here we are. We're starting at the attic. Scoobies unite. Below your feet, you hear ghostly moans, heavy creaks, and bone-chilling laughter. To muster the courage to begin your descent, lean on your community. Find a prompt from another readathon happening this month and read a book to fulfill it. Once completed, you can exit the attic. So, for this, I chose Halloweenathon. I did the bingo card, the tiny one, because I wanted to be kind to myself. I decided I wanted to read a book featuring a witch or witchy vibes, and so for that prompt, I chose to read The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This girl that we're following, the modern day character of Caroline, she is in London. Her parents gifted her and her husband a 10-year anniversary gift of going to London, this nice hotel. She's alone. She is trying to figure out what she wants to do about her marriage, what she wants to do about the fact that her husband had an affair, and what she wants to do about the fact that she thinks that she may be pregnant because her monthly is late. She needs a distraction. So she goes to London and she's just walking around figuring out what she wants to do. She wants to avoid the hotel because she doesn't want the reminder of what she just left behind. She doesn't want to go to any of the places that were on the itinerary because she just didn't want to be reminded of that. And so she runs into this older guy who is into mudlarking. According to Google, mudlarking is the activity of searching the mud near rivers to find valuable or interesting objects. Essentially, this man is an older gentleman who takes groups of people to go mudlarking because that's his hobby, that's his passion, and it varies the clientele that come. Either they're very passionate about it, or they're locals who are just starting to get into the hobby for the first time, or tourists. So this is not some sketchy thing. It was literally him just advertising a thing that he does on the regular when weather permits, and she just happened to be there as he is advertising this. So that's the scenario. It's not sketchy or weird or anything like that. Just wanted to be clear on that. But yeah, she is like, oh, that's nice. Okay, maybe heads to a pub. She's like, you know what, maybe I should do this because this is something that my husband would have never wanted to do or let me do. Do I even need to say anything about the let me do part? I don't think so. And there she finds a vial, which, you know, kind of unassuming, interesting colored, has a little markage. A little bit of an etching on the side, a kind of brand or logo, if you will, of a bear. Well, Miss Ma'am is curious. What this nice, kind gentleman does tell her about the vial is that it must have belonged to some sort of apothecary, but not any apothecary that he knew because there was a logo of a bear. Interesting. So, okay. There's a little bit of mystery there. So she's like, is there anyone who would possibly know anything about this historical apothecary that would have had this logo? He's like, well, all of the shops are about to be closing, any place that I would recommend you go to. But, you know, if you want to find out right now, you could go to the library and talk to this one female that I know. She's a friend of mine. Let her know that I sent you and ask her about this file. So she goes to the library, finds this woman amongst a pile of old maps. She's a historical researcher as well, more for the map side of things. And she's like, so this guy sent me to you, says you were a friend, says the name. This lady smiles and is like, oh, that's my dad. Of course. So they start up a conversation, they find some old maps, they hit on some things, and they discover that, oh, this is an apothecary apothecary logo, but not one that is highly known about. And so this leads Caroline to go back to her roots. She is a historian enthusiast of sorts. She loves researching. She loves, to paraphrase, she loves finding out about people, about their lives. She's a historian and a researcher, but not for the big dates and the big names. She very much loves the mundane, the people that are forgotten about in history or not written about or considered quote unquote irrelevant to different historical events that have happened. Well, she starts going on this search, and as she's searching, we are introduced to the world of two other women who lived 200 years in the past, and we find out a little bit more about this apothecary and its existence, its origins, and what it is now, and how these two women met. And I gotta be honest, this is so cool because even throughout their story, one of the big pieces that Caroline finds to kind of back up her story and her theory about this apothecary that is allegedly never existed, but she is finding all of the evidence for it existing, and she's very protective of it and protective of this story, and she feels a kinship with these women that either ran the apothecary or were somehow involved in its day-to-day activities. She doesn't know. She genuinely doesn't have all of the answers, but she's starting to piece things together as she's going along and trying to find out about these two women that just keep popping up in regards to this apothecary. And as she is finding out about these events, we're learning about the two women, and we're seeing their interactions, and we're seeing their timeline and their story. One of the greatest pieces, going back to what I was starting to say, one of the greatest pieces of information that I found in this book was the reason for the apothecary existing, the reason that a change of clientele existing, and the reason why the records were still existing, even though it could be compromising and it could lead to arrests and things like that. I think the best thing about it was like seeing the register and like understanding that this was a handwritten register of women, and this person who ran the apothecary, Nella, she keeps a register of everything, the good, the bad, the incriminating, the not incriminating, and she says, I record every single person so that their names will not be forgotten. Their story will be told, because at that point in time, you know, there was a difference in how women and men were treated. And the reason that this apothecary actually existed was because of women. Like, this woman who ran the shop, Nella, kept this business going for women, to heal women and to help women. Created a space for women to feel safe, for women to have a voice, for women to not be forgotten. But she also adds another element that was never there before and goes against all of the teachings that she had growing up, and she created a space of healing in life and helping by death.
Now, I want to make it very clear that I didn't think that the best part of this book was that she created a safe space for women and also created a space where they could feel comfortable to kill brothers, fathers, lovers, husbands, all of these things. That I don't condone. I don't condone the taking of life in any way, shape, or form. I like that when she describes keeping a register, a lot of people in history tend to be forgotten, and she refuses to allow any person that passes her by to not be remembered in her shop's history. And I think that's amazing. And the fact is, she services only women, so it would be only women that were listed in that book. But I found it very interesting that she said specifically that she does not want any of these names to be forgotten, regardless of whatever they bought, whatever their intentions for the products were, that she was bound and determined to just have that as part of the history of the shop, regardless of whatever happened. So I think that was really cool and really amazing to, regardless of whatever history will say about the actions and about whatever is written, it will still be recorded and it'll be honest because it was happening in the moment. And she did not mince words. She was honest in her recordings. She never put anything down that wasn't ordered. So, gotta give props where props is due. It was an honest history, and one that may not shed the best light on men or women that were there, but honestly, it was honest and they were not forgotten. So I think that was really interesting and pretty cool, honestly.
But she always was very clear. I will only be dealing with women. And no women will get hurt. This woman comes to fetch what she wants for herself. She wants to hurt a woman.
Her name is Lady Clarence. She decides that she is rich enough to never be told no. So she tries to wear away at Nella, who continues to refuse. Unfortunately, though, she does have women clientele who have ordered not so nice things and have used them on their husbands and fathers and brothers and, any male in their life that they wanted to take revenge upon. So there is a lot of incriminating things against other women. And she remembers this by way of Eliza, who happens to be in this conversation at the time that it happens. And she now has to make a hard decision on what to do about helping this woman hurt another woman and completely go against everything that she stands for and her shop stands for, or risk putting a lot of women in danger with all of the information that was handwritten and recorded. And so, in order to save these women and not divulge the location of the apothecary, which is what was threatened, she decides to make whatever this woman wants and give it to her. Unfortunately, there was a backfire in the plan. The plan was carried out to a T. The intended target was not hit. And next thing we know, Lord Clarence is pronounced dead. The following morning, there is a newspaper article that expressly says so. Now, the police are looking into this matter a little further, and, what is worse, the servant that carried out the deed unknowingly, the night that it happened, left, resigned, and the following day took all of the information to the police, and she took a sketch of the vial instead of taking the actual vial and turned it over to the police, who now are looking into this so-called apothecary and the people behind this operation. And also, more people are coming out with more stories and finding more objects with similar logos. And now there is a case to be had, and they think that this person is a serial killer who is out on the loose doing who knows what to the Lord only knows who. So what do Nella and Eliza do the second that they finish closing up the shop and seal it forever so that no one else can find it?
They run. They run for it.
I think it's also very important to note here that at this point in the story, the police force that was at the house of Lady Clarence investigating her further into her husband's death, because obviously Eliza went for a stroll to her house because she was heading back to her mistress's house. She brewed a potion that was supposed to help with the spirits that were allegedly within the house, even though the reason that she brewed the potion was very not the answer that she was expecting. But I digress. That is for you to read and me to wash my brain of. And was met with all of the police there questioning Lady Clarence, and now they're suspicious of her because, she just came through, and her excuse was, oh, I'm here because of the vacant position now. I'm a servant girl. She has a servant position that needs to be filled, etc., etc. How could anyone know about the vacant position? Did she already submit papers for that? What's going on? So regardless, they're a little suspicious. More so of Lady Clarence now, and now of Eliza. So when Eliza is pulled aside by Lady Clarence for just 1 second and literally runs away from the house, well, they of course were going to send people after her just to see where she went, and that is where we get to running for the hills, or for the bridge in their case.
Nella decides that she's going to try and end it there because she had just had a lot of maladies and sickness overtaking her. She truly believed that with every single potion, with every single customer helped, she was truly closer and closer to just, how do I describe it? Like, getting eaten from the inside out, basically, kind of. She a lot of stuff was happening to her. Her hand was unsteady. Her feet were constantly aching. She was always in pain every single time she gave this potion to whomever, and whatever they did worked. And so it was truly kind of like a give and take for the balance, if you will, to remain intact, and she was the one that was suffering for it. But she was okay with that because she had no one. She was by herself. She could no longer have children, which is what she wanted. And also, like, all of these other people, they needed her help. They needed her. So she wasn't mad about that at all whatsoever. She kind of accepted that fate. And so she stood on the railing of the Blackfriars, if I could say it right, Blackfriars. This bridge! Well, Eliza, who had been brewing some potions before, earlier on in the story, 2 of them, stuck them in 2 different vials with the bear logo, drank it all, jumped off. The police didn't know if Nella was part of the crowd or not, and they had to admit defeat. They wanted to bring her in, but they had to admit defeat. They had no clues, they had no nothing aside from her word, and she didn't admit to anything. She goes back to the shop, writes a note of what is going on to Eliza's employer, goes to the house, tries to drop off the letter. In so doing, sees what she believes is an apparition of the girl that she thought she saw jump off the bridge, who drank something before hitting the water. Now, her body did land in the water. She was sucked under the waves. That was all real. So why was this apparition that was running towards her looking so lifelike? And why, in Caroline's research of that entire event, did she see an entry marked Eliza Fanning the day after she had allegedly jumped off said bridge? And why in the world was there many years later, decades later, an Eliza Pepper, who used to be named Eliza Fanning, alive and owning a bookstore of her deceased husband, with children, 2 children, and mentioning a mentor who had been helping her for decades now? I don't know. But that story is greatly entwined with Caroline's story, as throughout finding out little pieces in this historical timeline, finding out about the lives of these 2 women, and finding the secret apothecary, as she is researching into this and like trying to process an affair that happened in her past, and kind of trying to see how she feels about it, how she feels about now, what her actual passion is, Her husband, in between trying to find out all of these things, comes to London and tries to win her back, and also decides that he's going to fake some sickness. He's going to try and get her to have empathy for him, to forgive him, to pull on the string of her empathy to override his infidelity and his affair. Yeah, so he decides that he's going to ingest something that was only supposed to be like dabbed on his throat. Some sort of eucalyptus oil, I believe. Some sort of oil is supposed to be dabbed like on your throat or something to heal it. No, he ingests a gulp of it and is hospitalized. During this time, because she's trying to find out about these women, and because she found the secret apothecary and saw the register and took pictures of it, she was looking at the register and she didn't know half of what was written on there, any of those ingredients, so she decided that she was going to look them up. So she writes down notes. Terrible idea, by the way. Like, you know that this is an apothecary. You know that something bad happened. You have already researched serial killer apothecary. Why would you write physical evidence that I don't even know? But anyways, she writes questions down in a notebook. Kill me now. And decides, that's a good idea. After her husband is, just like very violently sick and writhing and then coughing up blood, not even coughing up blood, vomiting blood, and, is having, I don't want to say seizures because I don't think it's a seizure, but just like having a lot of physical ailment going on to the point where he can't even really stand up well, pale on the floor of the bathroom. The emergency vehicles obviously come, but the police also come and they find the notebook. So now they're thinking, oh, this woman is trying to kill her husband. That's what it is. Because for some reason, this man decided it was a bright idea to tell the officers, yeah, we're having marital problems. Sir, what I just want to know, it doesn't matter, okay, doesn't matter whether or not your wife had a notebook of secret, like, apothecary ingredients that are known to kill. When you say that you are having marital problems on a hospital gurney, IV drips and things, like all different kinds of cords going into your body, there is no dang way that any good police officer or any sort of good individual that works for the police force or any sort of emergency medic or anything like that, there is no way anyone who was good at their job would not look into the wife. You guys were having marital problems. She went to London. You followed her. And now suddenly you're writhing on the bathroom floor vomiting up blood. Sir, for the fact that, like, he's supposed to be intelligent, he ain't intelligent. Intelligence does not equal logic or smarts or common sense, okay? I don't care what anyone says. Because I am not smart for school and stuff like that. I'm not intelligent by any stretch of the imagination. But even I know, my dumb self knows you do not say those things to the police officer if that is not what was happened. If you are coherent enough to know that that is not what happened. What did you think? Like, honestly, come to find out, by the way, and I'm getting a little heated because come to find out, by the way, he had a conversation with her about, like, he knew what he was doing when he ingested that stuff. He also knew what he was doing when he only took a sip instead of the entire thing. Okay? He knew what he was doing. He admitted to playing on her sympathy to get her to do what he wanted. That's a whole other level. Honestly, straight to jail for you, sir. I don't care that you were vomiting out blood. I don't care that you were almost on death's doorstep. Straight to jail. Because why? That is insane. That is crazy. You need a lot of help, sir. Mentally. Like, you just need a lot of help. honestly. So he admits to that, right? Knowing all of that, having a specific outcome that you wanted, what did you think was going to happen when you told the medics, the paramedics, and a police officer or constable or whatever name is the correct term there, oh yeah, my wife and I are having marital problems? What did you think was gonna happen? And listen, he didn't know about the notebook. You didn't have to know. The notebook didn't... Listen, all I'm gonna say, the notebook could not have existed. The, what was it? What else happened that was very incriminating that also related to that? She could not have admitted that the eucalyptus oil or whatever oil he ingested was from her bag. And they still would have looked into the wife just based off of what he said. You actual idiot, but I digress. So she's going to the police for questioning. She had evidence of finding this unknown apothecary and its historical existence. However, she kept that secret to herself. She did not say anything about it, but she did say, I am researching a historical place, and the historical place was an apothecary. I was just looking up certain ingredients that came across my research. I wanted to know a little bit more about it because I didn't know what they did. And the fact that they're toxins, we don't talk about Bruno. The officers were very worried. They didn't believe her. However, Gaynor called her right at that exact moment, asked about her husband because she had to abruptly leave a meeting with her to help said husband who was writhing on the floor and vomiting up blood. And she was like, hey, can you come over because I need to talk to you. Just let her come into the room, see the police officer, see the notebook and the words written down, and just like, she was like, oh shoot, this could end very badly for me because she didn't know about most of the research that I had gotten through at this point. But you know, Gaynor is a really good friend because she was like, yeah, I can vouch for all of this. Here's my card. I'm a researcher at the local library. She came in, she was helping me look up something, and we found something irregular, and we were just like, let's look into it. It may not be anything, but here it is. And yeah, so she said all of that. They accepted it. They didn't like it. And her husband had finally regained consciousness in the hospital after, spilling the tea that he and his wife were having marital problems. Stupid. And she got a police escort to the room, and once in the room, she was just like, because of what you said, they're following me here. And they think I tried to kill you, basically. And he was just like, that's not the case, officer. You're not needed. Get out of the room. Bye. And the police officer was just like, okay, but if you need to talk to me off record or privately, let me know. Hinting at like, I know you're probably afraid of your wife because she tried to, unalive you, but like, we could talk. Just bros talking to bros, and I can help if needed. Idiot. They end up talking about the affair and the infidelity and just kind of where they're at in life, because both are not happy in the situation that they're in, but he still wants the stability. She does not. She wants to pursue what she wanted to pursue a long time ago. An education at Cambridge, looking into historical places and finding out about the lives of people that may not be recorded. And she started doing that and searching for this lost apothecary. Now that she knows that it existed, now that she has rekindled her love for something that she thought was long lost to her because of time and her age and everything like that, she then takes the vial that she had found and she tosses it back into the water where it came from, and with it the two women and the apothecary and all of its secrets and mysteries, the good, the bad, and preserves their story. And now all three of their stories are entwined together, and that's so lovely and so beautiful. So I greatly enjoyed this book. 10 out of 10, would recommend you reading it. It was just so great. I loved the layout, I loved the characters, I loved the storyline, I loved it all. I really have nothing bad to say, honestly. So if that says anything to you about the rating that this may get, that is what I'll leave you with. We are now in the chimney.
When you crawl into the chimney, it is pitch black.
In order to get down the chimney safely, emphasis on safely, I need to read a book with a dark cover. That was freaking easy, let me tell you what. So for this prompt, Anya's Ghost by Vera Brazko. One line that I love, and if I heard this when I was in high school, I feel like it would have made my life so much better. Although, would I have believed it? Probably not, but still a great line from Anya, and it says, and I quote, "Impressing a bunch of snooty teenagers is a pretty lame life goal to have." We were talking in my morning fellowship class that it's really sad, honestly, if you think that you have peaked in high school, if all of your life's ambitions were your time in high school, or all of your fond memories are from high school. Because let's be honest, even if you had the best high school experience, there's still more to life than that, and it's still a growth period. Each phase of your life has something for you to learn, has something for you to be present for, has something in the way of just amazingness to look forward to. And if we're so focused on a past life or a past self or what we wish we could have had, we're gonna miss the good things in life. And so I just really appreciate that within this story, we're kind of getting that message, but in the most teenage way of saying it, that could connect with actual teenagers. Because I feel like if I read that in high school, I don't know if I would have believed it necessarily. However, I think I would have been just like, yes, like I need to hear this. And I think it's true. I think people should hear it, that like, hey, if your life goal is to impress teenagers, there's something wrong with that life goal. Okay, let's find a new one. Not to say that it's a bad goal to enjoy high school and those years. They're very formative years. They are the jumping point into adulthood. But like, don't think that that's going to be the best it ever is. But anyways, I'm just glad that we got that little piece in this book. But I also just like the fact that it was just like a teenager saying that about teenagers. I'm like, yeah, that was me in high school to a T. And like, I feel like I resonate with Anya so much. And I don't know if that's about a good thing. We get better. Anya, we get better in college and beyond, okay? Our life gets better. And to anyone who feels like Anya as well, if you guys have ever read this book, but, oh, sorry, back cover, this book. But yeah, gonna continue reading now, and I'll come back with my finalized thoughts, unless there's a really good quote. I am loving the fact that I am finding so many good quotes in these mangas. Back to reading. I found it. I accidentally flipped the page and it skipped a page. I found the face. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to the face of my nightmares. This one specifically. I kid you not, I have had sleepless nights because of this face. I get it. I get how this is so stupid. But listen, guys, there is always something that we know is not real, that creeps us the heck out, okay? And then we wonder how like kids can look at it and be like, oh, fun shiny toy. It's kind of like those Barbie dolls that were interestingly made with the faces and everything. Like seriously, how do kids, when you really think about Barbie dolls or animations and stuff like that, it's like, how can these kids look at this? And objectively, it looks creepy. Just like objectively, it looks fake, but it's real enough to not be fake. So your mind conjures up the fact that maybe this could be real. And kids are not bothered. But as adults, we look back at it and we're just like, huh. Yeah, okay. Kids are fearless, honestly. But I kid you not, that face and the celery, man, that's freaking celery. It's gonna give me freaking nightmares. The most horrible part for me, I don't know which one is more horrible, because this one is just a drawing that scares my soul. And then the other one has a voice attached. But I also know it's a vegetable, and he's a nice vegetable. He's just delivering a prophecy, if you will. Yeah, TBD on that. But that was actually frightening. Like, I turned off the camera, and then I accidentally skipped over to that page, and I was like, ah! It was so bad. I think I scared my little puppy over there. She's laying down now because she's used to my dramatics. But, like, it's actually frightening. I don't know what it is, but I hate it here. All right. Gonna continue reading. This is for all of those true crime stories that have to deal with jealousy and disappointment and breakups. And I quote, "I don't think murder is an appropriate reaction to disappointment." Okay, and I said like love triangles and jealousy and heartbreak and breakups and everything because that's kind of like the plot line that the story goes on. But literally for anything, if your strongest reaction to disappointment is immediately murder, we got some other things going on. And like, okay, I feel like I just came on abruptly and said that. Listen, I'm into the true crime space, all right? So, you know, I've been listening to a lot of stories on true crime and everything. There are quite a fair few stories, sadly, about people who got broken up with or had a broken heart or something of disappointment happened in their lives. And in order to enact revenge and feel justice for their misfortune and discomfort, basically, they kill someone. Or, sorry, this is YouTube. They unalive someone. That is never an appropriate response for a disappointment. And so I feel like this was a good thing to make mention of. Sorry, okay. Editing me is gonna make it not as abrasive as the actual footage was, because I feel like that just like came out of nowhere.
Yeah, girl, that kind of did. But thankfully, I am here to help you out. I have been, as I said, into true crime and true crime topics, but also this book was heavily featuring a murder case. Our ghost was a murderer. She murdered in cold blood because of jealousy, and we later come to find out her actual cause of death versus the cause of death that she told Anya because she wanted to relive her life vicariously through Anya. She thought, hey, maybe this girl could be my second chance at life. I have been in the true crime space for a while now. There are sadly so many cases of just love triangles, heartbreak, jealousy, just changing of feelings so quick and going from love to hate because of their emotions, because they feel hurt, because they feel betrayed, because they want to have control over something and they no longer have it. And they think, if I don't have this person, then no one can, among other reasons and things like that. So it's a very important topic, I think, and I love that this was a conversation mixed into the storyline. I'm just a big fan of authors who truly can take a topic that is serious that we should think on and implement it within the storyline in a way that is not only just entertaining on the surface, but subconsciously allows the reader to have that topic of conversation and sit with it and maybe work with their thoughts with the character and come to their own conclusions about certain things. So I think that's really cool that this was involved within this storyline. And so that is why I kind of got so passionate and so out of left field for that comment. But also, I wanted to keep it included within this video because I think it is important to have those conversations and to highlight that this was something that the author did, because not only did I love that and it helped with my overall experience and rating of the book, but also because I just genuinely feel that the authors who are able to do that so well implement really deep levels of conversation into a very seemingly light mood read. I think it's worth commending because it is such a skill and it is hard to do. So kudos to our author. Back to reading.
Last reading update. I finished Anya's Ghost and it was just as good as the first time in a different way, but just as good. We have safely slid down the chimney and we are now in the fireplace.
Someone lit the fire. Do you climb back the way you came or continue down and face the flames?
In order to get out the ashes as quickly as possible, we need to read a series read. And for the series read, I chose none other than The Tarot Cafe by Sung-Soon Park. shook. The one manga that I had zero knowledge of or anything like that turned out to be my favorite of all of them. And I didn't even really have any in-depth thoughts on this at all. But what's surprising me is that, okay, so spoiler alert for the next vlog. Today I finished reading The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. And in my review notes, I basically said that this book was like very like quick to get through, fast-paced, easy to digest. I bring up that point because I had said that even though it was fast-paced, easy to digest and all of this, it felt very shallow, very spoon-fed. It's more so like it was just very surface level stuff, and you know, I felt like it was easy to get through because we were being told everything that we were supposed to feel and not like coming to that feeling organically. I bring all of that up to say I felt like this manga was a breeze through read. I gotta say, like, it was very nice. It was just nice to have a very quick, very easy read where I had no expectations of anything, where yes, there were probably conversational points in here, but just because my brain just like wasn't with the deep conversation or trying to find anything that was like layers upon layers of substance, it was just really nice to have this read. What got me though is I got to the end and I was just like, that felt so quick. And also, why did you leave me on a cliffhanger? I mean, I know it's a series, okay, right? You know it's a series, but like with something like Heartstopper, it kind of concluded to where if you didn't want to go further on in the series, you didn't have to. There was enough there to leave you on a cliffhanger of intrigue for the next book, but if you really didn't like it, you could have ended it there and it would have a nice conclusive element to it. And I think that's something that I was just like, I guess I was expecting of manga just in general. I don't know what I was expecting, but that is just something that I was just like, oh, okay, we're doing this, we're making this a series, and like obviously there's a continuation and it doesn't like resolve itself, which I don't know, like I'm kind of digging that, to be honest. I really liked it. I am loving the way that it reads. It at first, like, I mean, the print is very tiny, don't get me wrong, so sometimes I had to be like really squinting there because it was just like, there was this one particular part where it was like the tiny writing. Let me find an example here. Actually, let me find the page of what I'm talking about. But like, okay, so for the cards, the writing is that tiny. Okay, and then for context, here's the entire page. There's the actual writing. Up close and personal. Does it focus enough for you to actually read it? I don't know. I'm sorry if it doesn't focus enough to read it. But that's the print we're working with. And there was this one particular card, or maybe it was a scene. I don't know. I think it was a card. But the lettering was actually gray on, I think, black background. So it was like exceptionally hard to read. I think you could see in the footage, like my eyes were just like this occasionally. But it was really cool. The layout was cool. There was so much action, you guys, and I think you guys saw it in the small amount that I showed you guys, but the details of all of like the drawings of the characters themselves, look at that detail, okay? But also of like cityscapes, where, let me turn to a different page so I can just show you like the differences. Again, okay, here's, you know, yet another character. And then what I love is they get into detail of the expressions as well. When the characters are talking to each other, the details of the expressions are like on point. It's less about the background and more just about the expressions. So you have the simple background with the very detailed character faces. And then there are the scenes where it's like there is still a lot of intricate detail within the drawings, but it's more like focused on the background, and it gives you the scene. It as the scenes play out, you have that, but it when there's no scene to be talked through, when there's no dialogue within the scene, you get just the full-on scenery with the character and the background. It's so freaking cool, and the illustrator is just so good. And for our main character, I mean, look at that. You can even see the designs in the lacing of her clothing. Like, that is so cool. And that's just a close-up. That's not even talking about, you know, like these designs over here. Sorry, I was meaning to show you guys the, like, a city type of shot here. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Look at that. Like, I mean, obviously there's a character in it, but like, just so intricate. The detailing in this artwork is just amazing. I am floored by this. And like, I have seen, oh, here, no character. No character. And it's literally just a building. But, oh my goodness, the intricate designs and artwork, chef's kiss. And then the actual storylines as well. So, just like, out of pocket, but they make sense. Like, it's so amazing. But then, we have to freaking stop in the middle of a storyline, and I'm just like, what the heck is happening? Also, we get like a note from the author kind of like talking about their experience writing this book and everything. Like, literally from the author says this. I'll just read out the entire thing for you because I think this was really cool. And I quote, "In a way, I had no choice but to become a cartoonist. Ever since I was a little girl, I felt a strong desire to draw. Drawing made me feel like I was flying high in the air. Even now, I find myself completely immersed in the world I am creating on these pages, and I try my hardest to create better, more entertaining storylines and images." Girl, you don't need to. Like, you do amazing. As soon as a cartoonist says to himself, "This is good enough," she falls into the depths of hell. For this reason, I am on guard at all times, goading myself to do better. It is not up to me, but to the reader to decide whether my work is good or bad. My job is to do my best. I felt that. As a creative, I felt that. One thing I am sure of is that I am happy when I'm imagining a story or bringing it to life on paper. I sincerely hope that the readers can share in my happiness. I did. It was a fun time, girlfriend. You gave me a great, amazing story time. Now I invite you to enter the slightly unusual world I've created. ... No, literally, ... I love that. The slightly unusual world. Honestly, we need slightly unusual. It's fun. It's fantastic. So yeah, wow. Just, man, that was just such a fun time. Man, this is gonna be so much fun to talk about in the morning. What I also greatly appreciate, before I need to shut up because I don't know if my mom is actually trying to go to sleep or not, so I'm going to be conscientious of other people in the household. So one last thing before I sign off for tonight, and I will catch you guys up in like a proper intro, outro, and editing thing, is that I greatly appreciate the fact that each of the cards were that each of the cards were explained, and even if it was within the story that she was explaining it to the other characters, there was still the explanation underneath the cards, which was really, really nice. I enjoyed that. I personally think that it just shows how much effort was truly put into this work, because regardless of whether or not the author is into the tarot card thing, I think that's really cool for someone who doesn't know about tarot to be able to not feel left out of the conversation, to just see a picture and be like, that's a pretty illustration. What the heck does that even freaking mean? And to have all of the information on all of the possibilities of the card outside of the storyline is great, because our main character doesn't always say every single possibility just because she knows maybe not the right time to tell this other person about that, and they've already made up their mind, and she knows they've already made up their mind, so she kind of just like says the thing that is less harmful just to be like encouraging in a way, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, but we don't really know a lot more about her, even though in the summary it was mentioned she's trying to go on and move on to this next life. There's like hints of certain things, but like not even a lot. There was not a lot of attention on her, which I didn't mind, to be honest, because it was just so quick and just like one story after the other. It was fantastic. I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know. I think it was really good. So yeah, anyway, love it. And now I'm gonna shut up because people may be trying to go to sleep. If you guys cannot tell from just everything, I loved this manga. I loved this graphic novel so much. I cannot wait to get the second book of this series. I fell in love with the characters, I fell in love with the art, I fell in love with the story, I fell in love with the intrigue of literally not knowing anything about our main character, even though this is supposed to be about our main character, even though it's actually not. It's amazing. I love it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Okay, I'm shutting up, and we're going to our final prompt. We are now in the living room, and we are so close. It's the home stretch. We can see the door.
You can see the door, but what is that crawling from under the couch?
So for this, we need to enter a book blindly. I decided to go with The Corpse in the Closet by Lucy Score. I really had nothing in my head when I picked this up other than fulfilling a prompt. So the actual summary of this book is, and I quote read, "Summer is heating up for this reluctant psychic and her handsome private investigator boyfriend. First, Riley's disapproving grandmother arrives, determined to make Riley finally take her powers seriously or else face the wrath of, quote-unquote, the guild. Then, even worse, there's the homicide detective who needs Riley's help figuring out who murdered the well-dressed corpse in a walk-in closet. Her boyfriend, Nick Santiago, has his own hands full with a tricky missing person case and parents who want to know why he didn't tell them about his living girlfriend. He's also still the tiniest bit stressed about Riley almost getting murdered earlier that summer, so the last thing he wants is her getting involved in another investigation. Good boyfriend." By the way, sorry, that's not a part of the summary. I needed to have that opinion known, okay? Things go from bad to worse when the body count starts stacking up. Riley and Nick's meet the parents' dinner goes horribly wrong, and their elderly roommate is up to no good, dressed like a mime. Okay. To top it off, Riley is forced to return to Channel 50 on official police business to question her spray-tan news anchor ex-husband and his new weather girl fiancé. Drama. The trouble all comes to a head when Riley receives an ominous warning from the killer. Back off or she's next. If she can't solve these murders, she might just become the latest corpse. So, if you were having trouble following all of that, so was I. So that's a lot. And I can't even really give you my first initial impressions because, spoiler alert, I am on page 34 of this book and chapter 5 is where I stopped. And I just, if you think the back of the book is confusing, the events that have just unfolded in this book are even more so. And I almost feel like that is not how books are supposed to go. Like, you're supposed to get a little bit more clarity about the back of the book the more that you start reading. But honestly, everything that was just posed here was literally addressed within the first 4 chapters, for the most part. I don't know about the, the Meet the Parents has not happened yet. praise everything, but the grandmother has already arrived. The plot set up for her about to possibly become the next corpse, and the whole needing to go back to Channel 50 to interview her ex-husband and his new weather girl fiance. That's set up. The homicide detective wanting her help to investigate a corpse because there have been no answers thus far. That has also been set up. And the interesting neighbors have also been set up. So there's a lot of setup for a lot of nothing going on, because everything is going on, but nothing is going on because you don't understand everything that is going on, even though these characters seem to find it all very normal and almost are laissez-faire about it. And it's kind of just like, okay, I don't expect you to be like paranoid and in terror, especially if you have psychic capabilities when it comes to murders and death and everything like that, although that is a normal human response. I just feel like, you know, maybe we're not so laid back that we are making out on a couch while things like that are happening, you know, or basically discussing, well, I'm prettier, so send out the uglies first to get shot, and then the rest of us can try and overpower a killer. And also, like, and none of these are spoilers. This stuff happens in the first, like, 2 chapters. You know, I don't know if I am appreciating the amount of stuff that is happening. So much is happening. And I can comprehend zero of it because so much is happening. It's freaking, what's it called? It's overstimulation for me, and I get overstimulated very easily. And maybe this is just my personality because I have interesting episodes, if you will, from time to time involving overstimulation and just like a lot of things happening all at once, and just like, okay, I need to like step back where something is going to happen. Either I'm going to lash out or I'm going to curl into the fetal position and cry. Either one, not something I want people to see in public. So, you know, well, I mean, I guess if people can see it, you are in public, but also I differentiate between like people seeing and the public, because public is, you know, we're not doing all of that emotional stuff there, but there are people who I would curl up in a fetal position in front of and cry my eyes out and just like let them like be like, if they want to be there to help, I let them be there and help in the way that, you know, is most helpful in the moment, and they know how to deal with panic attacks and things like that. But like they know how to deal with my stuff, okay? So differentiation there, that's why I said that. Okay, anyway, so there's a lot of just like stuff happening, and I feel very overstimulated to the point where I have no care for this book at all. And at first when I felt that, I was like, push through, because reading slump could technically be a thing. You have read more books in this month than you have in the last 5 years of your life. So, you know, maybe it's that. But I genuinely don't think it is, because I kept reading after the first 2 chapters of overstimulation, and I still am getting new information, and I am still not knowing what the heck is going on, and there is no concrete timeline. It feels like everyone is going all over the place. It feels like everyone knows all of this insider information that they haven't shared with the class, and it's kind of actually frustrating, because then they continue on with the storyline as if we know what's going on. And granted, okay, look at this. It's huge. She thick. So I'm sure world building, character development, plots, stuff will be happening. Plots will happen. I'm sure of it, because, you know, I choose to believe that of every single book. I choose to believe that it has all of the great elements. I'm just like missing something as far as intrigue is concerned. But dang, like seriously, dang, this is gonna be such a hard read to get through. I can already tell, and I hate saying that, but I feel like even just from the back of the book, whoa, sorry, voice going. I feel like even just from the back of the book though, like there's so much going on. You don't need all of this. And especially if there is a series that you can like hedge your bets on. I don't even care if it gets written or not. I want what is written to not overwhelm me and overstimulate me to the point where I'm just like, I really don't care about anything. I'm trying to speed read here to just get to something that I can understand. And then I speed read, and then I feel like I missed something. I go back, I read over the exact same dang sentence, and realize I missed nothing. It truly just was words on a page. And I'm just like, what is happening? And I don't want to feel that way about a book. But like, seriously, dang, there's too much. Do a lot less. And we'd still be here. We'd still be intrigued. In fact, probably we'd be more here and we'd be more intrigued. But dang. I'm sorry. Like, that's kind of how it's going. I may need to get, I don't know, like I hate to say this, but I do have a backup plan if need be, if I need to DNF. And truly, I think it would still count if I DNF'd the book, if I read a little bit more from it and DNF'd, that we would still go on to the next thing and I would still count it as escaping the haunted house or whatever. But this isn't about reading to fulfill a goal or reading to fulfill an activity worksheet. I'm so sad that I am actually considering DNFing this book. Yes, it's a DNF. It's a DNF because a lot of stuff was happening and I just wasn't getting into it. The moment I started to like really get into the story and really get into the writing, it did something with the characters and like it focused a lot on relationship, but not even relationship, just like very shallow relationship where I was just like, I cannot anymore. I can't. So DNF, sadly. You guys get to determine whether or not I escaped the haunted house. I would like to say I did because I started reading it. Did I finish the entire book all the way through? No, but I gave it a good college try and I kept trying to pick it up. I really did. I know it's not saying a lot without actual like physical evidence of any footage or anything, but I kept trying to pick it up and I just couldn't get more than like 10-15 pages at a time if I was lucky. Sad to say, but I just wasn't with it, so I wasn't gonna complete it. I wasn't gonna force myself to have a bad experience with the book, because I didn't want to say anything bad. Like, I didn't want to bash a book. I don't want to bash anything about it because, you know, someone worked really hard on that, and it just wasn't for me. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. And you guys get to determine whether or not I did. I personally think I completed it. You guys can say otherwise in the comments below. And that is all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in our last and final Booktober episode with all of the fun things that will come with that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for being the best bookish bestie that ever was, is, or ever will be. And I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!